The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am, of course, your host, Benjamin Dixon. This is actually the patrons only bonus show, morning show, some kind of show. This is my way of staying connected with you while I'm away on vacation because you make this possible, and without you, this is not possible. I guess I just said the same thing twice the same way, or the same thing a different way. Either way it goes. I hope everything is going well for you. Today, it's bright and early, 8:30 here on the East Coast. So most of you, a lot of supporters from the West Coast, most of you are still asleep. So I hope no push notifications went to your phone and woke you up. So, as usual, there's a lot happening in the news. I want to start first with a video. Well, it would be audio for you. An audio from the NRA. And I shared it on my Twitter timeline yesterday. But I have to share it here, and I want to discuss it because it's very concerning. It's very disturbing. And it's, well, you know what? Instead of me describing it, let me go ahead and play it for you. Now, this came out, just as a heads up, this came out at the beginning of June. I believe around June 12th was the first day that it was published. And it's just getting around to me and getting around our circles, but it's disturbing nonetheless. So I want you to take a listen in to this advertisement from the NRA.
They use their media to assassinate real news. They use their schools to teach children that their president is another Hitler. They use their movie stars and singers and comedy shows and award shows to repeat their narrative over and over again. And then they use their ex-president to endorse the resistance, all to make them march, make them protest, make them scream racism and sexism and xenophobia and homophobia, to smash windows, burn cars, shut down interstates and airports, bully and terrorize the law-abiding, until the only option left is for the police to do their jobs and stop the madness. And when that happens, they'll use it as an excuse for their outrage. The only way we stop this, the only way we save our country and our freedom, is to fight this violence of lies with the clenched fist of truth.
Wow, that's the clenched fist of truth. I mean, I think the audio is sufficient for you to understand just how insane this is, how crazy this is. But if you see the video on top of it, and you see her facial expressions and the level of, I don't want to just say bitterness, but confidence with which she conveyed this message. The first thing that came to mind is, are these Republicans that Democrats want to, I don't know, build a coalition with, right? Is this the mindset? Now, after I had that thought, I did do the responsible thing and took a step back and thought about who is actually doing this ad. It's the NRA. The spokesperson there, I believe her name is Linda Loesch. If I could pronounce that correctly, let me just make sure I'm pronouncing that. Yeah, Linda Loesch, and she is a conservative spokesperson. I guess I can give it the label of being extreme, and by giving it the label of being extreme, then the reasonable thing is to say that, well, not all Republicans think like this, right? Because this is an extreme example. But the problem is that the NRA has so much power. They have so much power in the Republican Party and in the nation at large that you can't just dismiss this and say this is only the NRA and not all the Republicans are like this. Well, even if not all Republicans are like this, which I agree, not all Republicans are like this, but one of the most powerful organizations in the nation just so happens to be an organization that makes its money off of gun ownership. is fueling the flames of, I mean, to be honest with you, every person that I've shown this to has mentioned the word civil war. And I know it's quite the hyperbole, but really, this is sedition. Not sedition. That's not the word I'm looking for. This is inflammatory. Doesn't capture it well enough. But this type of rhetoric, this does more damage than anyone calling for the impeachment of Donald Trump. Right? The calling for the impeachment of Donald Trump is nothing compared to this, because this will literally lead someone who is unstable enough or someone who is not smart enough to realize that this is just a advertisement to make money. Somebody will pick up their weapon and feel like they're carrying the clenched fist of truth to liberals and progressives. This is so irresponsible. And yet this is just, to them, this is just. To them, they're just doing the right thing. To them, they're just fighting for their freedoms. And no, you're not fighting for your freedoms in this. You are intentionally doing, so, I mean, if we had to break this down piece by piece, she's intentionally, the NRA, they're intentionally undermining the press in the first sentence. They're and they're intentionally undermining civil rights. They're intentionally undermining the LGBTQ rights. They're intentionally undermining women's rights. They're intentionally undermining everything that runs counter to the conservative agenda. So it's not just an advertisement for them to make money. It is a full-on propaganda tactic by the most powerful organization, political organization in the nation. So while it may be reasonable for us who try to be reasonable to conclude that this is just an extreme example of what republicanism and conservatism is in America, I don't think it's responsible for us to just leave it there and dismiss it, because this is the most powerful organization. They have a large membership. They have a very virulent, I can't even say membership. Their membership is very active, very engaged. They are not, they have influence. Let me just simplify it and just say it simply. They are motivated and they have influence, and this is just, I'm at a loss of words, because this is the type of stuff, this makes this ad honestly makes the Kathy Griffin thing look like benign. Because what Kathy Griffin tried to do with comedy, which I completely disagreed with, not because I thought it was so offensive, but because I was like, never give your enemies or your political rivals tools to destroy you. That's my strategy. Never give them anything. So Kathy Griffin doing the decapitated head of Donald Trump was a stupid move politically. Don't give your political enemies or rivals ammunition to fight against you. However, what she did pales in comparison to this, because all she did was hold up it was akin to burning the president in effigy, right? This is what Republicans have done a long time. Everybody does it. It was extreme and it was dumb. But the NRA ad does, this NRA ad gives voice to a level of hatred and bigotry and bitterness, such that it will motivate people to action, to do things. The Kathy Griffin decapitated head of Donald Trump, I don't see that motivating anybody to do anything. This ad, I honestly see it motivating people to pick up their arms and go and bring the clenched fist of truth. Like, the hell is wrong with these people? Let's listen again so you can see. So just so that you see I'm not being hyperbolic in my description, just listen to this shit again.
They use their media to assassinate real news. They use their schools to teach children that their president is another Hitler. They use their movie stars and singers and comedy shows and award shows to repeat their narrative over and over again. And then they use their ex-president to endorse the resistance, all to make them march, make them protest, make them scream racism and sexism and xenophobia and homophobia, to smash windows, burn cars, shut down interstates and airports, bully and terrorize the law-abiding, until the only option left is for the police to do their jobs and stop the madness. And when that happens, they'll use it as an excuse for their outrage. The only way we stop this, the only way we save our country and our freedom is to fight this violence of lies with the clenched fist of truth.
Bruh. And I said her name was Linda Loesch, but it's actually Dana Loesch. Dana Loesch. She's a political conservative activist, and this is an NRA ad. And I'm sorry, this will instigate more violence than Kathy Griffin's decapitated head would ever instigate violence, hands down, without question. And yet they look at us, and here's the other side of the equation, though, right? What we do is, as progressives and liberals, is that we so quickly abandon people on. We're afraid. We would never support something that somebody puts out like this from a progressive perspective. I'm not saying that we should, but what we do is we abandon them. We chastise them. We eat our own, right? We don't stand by our own people when they get out there on the edge. I'm not saying in every case that we should, but damn, like this is when I say we are in an asymmetrical fight against conservatism. Conservatism gets away with this. And progressives have to apologize for calling Donald Trump a liar. Like, I mean, Kathy Griffin is an outlier, right? Let's put her out there. She's an edge case. So let's take her out of the equation. You take her out of the equation, most of everything that you see from the left, from progressives, from liberals, or from Democrats, however you want to categorize it, most of it has been either calling for Donald Trump's impeachment or calling Donald Trump a liar or trying to figure out if it's okay to call him a liar when that bastard lies incessantly. There's like no question about whether he's a liar, but we ask whether or not we could call him a liar. And yet this is where our fight is. And yet conservatives are running all over us with this type of propaganda. It is an asymmetrical fight, and we can't keep bringing water guns to an all-out war. Rhetorically speaking, not rhetorically speaking, but in terms of our political rhetoric, in terms of our political agenda, in terms of our political tactics and strategery. Shout out to George W. Bush. But we can't. And I'm not saying that we necessarily match fire with fire, because I don't know that we need this type of violent rhetoric to get our agenda accomplished. But we just need a damn spine, a damn backbone. We need to not buckle at every, like, I guess this is a whole nother story. This is the best example, and I'm going to segue into the second thing that I wanted to cover, healthcare. Chuck Schumer tweeted out yesterday that he wanted to work with Donald Trump in a bipartisan way on health care. Now, before I get too upset at Chuck Schumer, I think he needs to clearly define what the hell he means, right? Because why? There is no room. There is no room to negotiate with Donald Trump on this health care bill. There's absolutely not when they want to kill. They want to put 23 million people off of insurance, which is going to lead to the deaths of tens of thousands of Americans. Not when it's going to change the proportion that old people are charged compared to young people. Instead of being a 3-to-1 ratio, they're going to change it to a 5-to-1 ratio, meaning your grandparents are going to pay, or your parents, or some of you may end up paying 5 times as much as young people. Not when it's going to expose people with pre-existing conditions to higher premiums. I mean, Chuck Schumer, where is there ground to negotiate in a bipartisan way with Donald Trump on this? Now, I'm not going to jump on him too badly, because he has not clearly defined what he means, but this is what he tweeted on yesterday. He said, "I have a challenge for at POTUS. It's simple. Let's move forward on health care in an open, bipartisan way. Invite all 100 of us, Republican and Democrat, to the White House to discuss a new bipartisan way forward on health care, on the health care front of the American people, in front of the American people." Bruh, like, what is there to talk about? Obamacare is bad enough. We do not need to go any further to the right than the Affordable Care Act. So what bipartisan way, and don't get me wrong, like I understand political strategery. I'm going to keep saying that. I should never have started. Oh, goodness. I understand political strategy. And I understand this is him trying to call out Donald Trump, knowing full and damn well Donald Trump is not going to take the bait, which he didn't. I'll play the clip from yesterday of Donald Trump's response. He didn't take the bait. But what if he does? And what if you do get to the table with Donald Trump? Where is there room to negotiate from here? That's the thing. Where do you go from here when their starting position is that that this bill honestly doesn't hurt enough people? They won't say it in that language. And oh my goodness, I mean, there's so many good things to talk about today, because it's been super busy politically, and I've been busy politically doing a lot of reading of what's happening. The tax break that's in there. This is what's the most astonishing to me. The tax break in this piece of legislation. They're giving about a 17% tax break to people who make over $250,000 a year. And by doing that, they are doing it at the expense of the most marginalized people in America. Now, here's my question. Where do we negotiate from there? What's there to triangulate? I'm sorry. In what way do we have room to work with President Trump when they're going to do all that I said? 23 million people off of health care, elderly getting a 5-to-1 ratio instead of a 3-to-1 ratio, the disabled losing some benefits, the poorest among us losing Medicaid. I mean, all for the expense, all for giving the wealthiest people tax breaks. I'm sorry, where is there room to negotiate? And this is what the reason I'm on this directly after the story on the NRA is because this exemplifies the asymmetrical fight that we are in. We are in an asymmetrical fight where progressives, liberals, Democrats, leftists, whatever, are so engaged in navel gazing, right? And reflecting on, are we doing the right thing? Is this the right way to go? Is this the right way to be? Should we call the president a liar? Should we call Fox News a propaganda machine? Should we say Sarah Palin is culpable? If not culpable, Sarah Palin has some blood on her hands for Gabby Giffords. This is in the news again because of the lawsuit, $75,000 lawsuit. She's suing the New York Times for saying that. Right? When she put a target, a bullseye target over Gabby Giffords' district and put her name on a flyer telling people to reload, and then Jared Loughner goes out and kills a 9-year-old girl, kills her staffer and wounds her permanently. And yet we're questioning as progressives, liberals, leftists, and Democrats whether or not it's okay to say that she is partly responsible because of the rhetoric. And we get criticized for calling Donald Trump a liar. That's an asymmetrical fight. And here in the healthcare debate, we're in another asymmetrical fight where we're negotiating from their starting position of hurting 23 more million Americans than Obamacare already hurts. This is what I'm talking about. And so when Chuck Schumer does this, to me, I see the political strategy in it. But if he calls you to the table, my question is, where are you going to negotiate from? In fact, I don't agree with the strategy. I see the strategy, but I don't agree with the strategy because the right strategy should be single payer. Fight for single payer. That's the right strategy. Or if you insist and you're just like a Nancy Pelosi, capitalism is always here, it's never going to be, there's nothing we can do about it. If you insist, then hold the line at Obamacare. I mean, and again, like I said earlier this week, I am not for burning down something that we have in hopes of getting something else when we are headed in the wrong direction. Right? I'm not for burning down Obamacare in hopes of getting single payer when in reality we're moving headlong into some type of insane Trump care. Right? So if Chuck Schumer is not on board with single payer, then don't negotiate any further than Obamacare. Make them pay. Exact as much political pain as you can. Make the cost so high that they concede or they acquiesce. That's the only way to do this, man. But instead your boy wants to triangulate and work in a bipartisan way with Donald Trump. Bring us all 100 of us, all 100 of us to the White House so that we could sit down in front of the American people, blah, 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 blah. And I want to play you the response of Donald Trump. Hold on. Chuck Schumer and serious. So Donald Trump basically laughed at Chuck Schumer and at Chuck Schumer's request. And this is what he had to say in response to Chuck Schumer saying, can we work in a bipartisan way? As soon as this loads up, here we go.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, Senator Schumer says he'd like to come down and have all 100 senators come here to talk health care. Would you be willing to negotiate with all of them?
Got to find out if he's serious. He hasn't been serious. Obamacare is such a disaster, such a wreck, and he wants to try and save something that's really hurting a lot of people. It's hurting a lot of people. He'd have to be very, very serious. You know, he's done a lot of talking, bad talking, and he just doesn't seem like a serious person. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, President.
Now, besides the president having a third grade speaking level, he's done a lot of talking, a lot of bad talking, and will forever be dumbed down because of Donald Trump. But I digress. Besides him having the intellect and the grammar and the conversation skills of a third grader, you have to read between his stupidity and understand when he says, is he serious? He has to see if he's serious. Serious to Donald Trump is, are you going to do what I say? Are you serious about working with me on the terms that I'm setting? That's what he says is serious. So Chuck Schumer, are you serious? That's my question. That's my question to Chuck Schumer. Schumer, are you serious? Are you serious about trying to work with Donald Trump on how he can hurt more Americans? All for a tax break for people who make over $250,000 a year. If they're married, $200,000 a year if they're single. Are you serious, Chuck Schumer? But this represents one of the greatest. I'm trying not to cuss only because, I don't know. But damn, God damn, are Democrats. How you cannot triangulate with people who want to destroy you. You can't compromise with people who literally would rather see you locked up in some type of chains instead of giving an inch on their agenda. When I say sometimes we have to hold the line, the Republicans know how to hold the line no matter who it hurts. They will shut down the government to hold the line. They will hurt every single American to hold the line on their demands. And their demands have always been the lowest taxes possible so that the wealthiest in America have zero responsibility to the social contract that we formed in America. You cannot negotiate with terrorists. And the Republican Party, they are political terrorists. Warren Buffett came out yesterday and said, or was it Monday night? One day earlier this week, he was on with Judy Woodruff of PBS NewsHour. And he said that if this bill had passed, it would give him just for 1 year, $750,000 more of a tax break. And he said it right. I mean, damn, we have to go to a billionaire to get the slogan that the Democrats, to get the strategy for the Democrats. We had to go to a billionaire. He said that this should be called the Relief for the Rich Bill Act. The Relief for the Rich Act. Because this is what it does. It's not a health care act. It's a Relief for the Rich Act. $750,000 more, which technically won't do nothing for him. I mean, Warren Buffett's so rich, $750,000 won't do anything for him. $750,000 will change my life, change probably your life too. But $750,000 for Warren Buffett is like, pocket change. He probably would blow that on a good weekend if he was young, on hookers and cocaine. I'm just saying, if he was young, he could blow that in a weekend. That's how rich he is. But he's smart enough and he understands the responsibility, at least marginally, right? I mean, he's still a capitalist and still, when you're engaged in capitalism, there are things that you're going to do that are immoral, right? But in terms of the type of, at least he's the type of billionaire that can see that he has a responsibility to society. I know he has a threshold, right? He's not going to say, you know, nationalize all my businesses and confiscate all my wealth for the sake of the proletariat. He's not going to say that. He has his threshold. But his threshold is not in this insane space that Republicans exist in, where they say we want no responsibility to the social contract that is America. We want to take all of our wealth out of America, but we don't want to put anything back into America. And the Democratic Party, I mean, like, who's doing the strategy? Tom Perez? Who's creating the strategies? Because why did anybody else? Here's another thing nobody thought about, and I actually thought about yesterday. After Warren Buffett said that we should call this a tax relief for the rich, relief for the rich act, tax relief for the rich act. I like that even better. He pointed out in his interview that realistically, even though these congressmen only make about $180,000 a year, and I say only, like, that's nothing. But their salary from the U.S. government is below the threshold of the tax break, so a lot of people have let that slide, right, and not really put two and two together. But out of the top 25 richest people in the House of Representatives, 17 of them are Republicans. And when I'm sorry, let me restate that. Out of the top 25 income earners, annual income earners, 17 of the 25 are Republicans. And all 17 of those 25 make over the threshold to get a 17% tax break out of this legislation. In other words, Republicans are literally voting their own tax breaks. Sometimes we like to think that this is that Republicans are, you know, dumb, moderately wealthy people, but not rich people, and they're in D.C. in order to help make their rich benefactors even richer. You know, sometimes we like to think of it like that, but no, in reality, they are enriching themselves with this legislation. You know, they are the wealthy ones. They make over $250,000 a year, so they're going to get a 17% tax break once this legislation passes. So they are literally signing raises into legislation at the expense of the poorest people in America, and the Democratic Party isn't saying this publicly? This should be on every fucking headline. Like every billboard in America should say Republicans in Congress are voting for their own raises at the expense. I mean, somebody who can phrase it better and more succinctly, right? Republicans are trying to get rich at the expense of the impoverished. Somebody. But the math is there. The components are there. Republicans are freaking. It's like if I had hair, I would pull it out. If I had hair, I would pull it out. It's insane. It's insane that Democrats are so incompetent that they haven't even put that together. It took Warren Buffett saying it on PBS, and then it took me going to opensecrets.org to find out how many Republicans, and that's just the top 25, right? I mean, I wonder how many of them make over that threshold. That's outside income, right? So out of the hundreds of congressmen in the House of Representatives, you have 25 whose outside income alone is over $250,000. Now, when you take the $180,000 that each of them make already, and you add, maybe they only make $100,000. They still meet that threshold of $250,000 to get a 17% tax break. Why on earth aren't the Democrats pointing this out? But instead, fucking Chuck Schumer wants to meet with the president, all 100 of us. Somehow bipartisanship inherently brings about better results. No, sometimes you can, in a bipartisan way, carry us to Iraq. You guys mind if I share this show with everybody? Because people need to hear this. Like, holy shit. I know this is a private patron show, And if you want to get more of these private shows, go to patreon.com/the BPD show, and you can get one every morning. But holy shit, what is up with the Democratic Party, Chuck Schumer, when this is their strategy? Their strategy is to try to force Donald Trump into a bipartisan concession, when in reality, all they have to say is, look, this call them by name. Paul Ryan makes over $250,000 a year. He is going to get a tax cut. Paul Ryan, why are you giving yourself a tax break at the expense of people on Medicaid, disabled people, poor people, the elderly? Why? And then make them answer that. Hold the line. Don't talk about anything else except that. So anyway, that's the shit that's been pissing me off lately. And it blows me away. I don't know. I keep coming back to this thing. Is it incompetence or is it malice? And I'm talking this time about Republicans. About Democrats. Is it incompetence or malice? Somebody said to me that they are genuinely this incompetent. Some people who work with them, that they're generally this incompetent. Other people think that it's all controlled opposition and that the Democrats are just playing their role. Here's the thing. With being in the controlled opposition, you have to actually have power to be opposition. You might be in the minority, but you still have to have power. You don't lose 1,000 seats across the country and call yourself controlled opposition. That shit's out of control, right? That to me is incompetence. And I think it's a level of incompetence and a level of navel gazing and a level of fear that they're not ready to fight the way the Republicans are fighting. They've never been able to fight the way Republicans are fighting. They don't want to fight the way Republicans fight. And that's why, going all the way back, going full circle, this has been an asymmetrical fight since the beginning of my life. I want to say before time, but most certainly in my life. All right, let's read some comments from our comment section here and get your input. Schumer, okay, this is from William Emerson. William says Schumer means he wants to sell us out. I mean, that's the first question that comes to mind. Like, what are you going to negotiate with Chuck Schumer? What are you willing to trade off? What are you willing to concede to? When instead you could just make them pay the ultimate political price, which is to lose power. Denise says it's okay to tell the truth. Isn't that what progressives fight for? If someone is being an idiot, we point it out. Absolutely. Let's get to the next one. In regards to Donald Trump asking whether or not Chuck Schumer is serious, Denise also said that he wants Schumer to give in to what Donald Trump, wants. Absolutely. Jamie Miller. Jamie, this is a good quote. She said, I'm not sure whether it matters whether it's incompetence or malice. The result is the same. Absolutely. I don't have my applause track. That's actually when I wrote about this some time ago, I said it doesn't matter if they are incompetent. It doesn't matter if they're malicious. Either way it goes, the result is the same. And in this case, the result is the Republican Party hurting even more people. Like, is it not good enough that Obamacare currently has 29 million people off of insurance? Is that not good enough? You really have to get it up to 52 million, don't you? And the fact that the Democrats can't capitalize on that message, and they can't do it either out of incompetence or they're not doing it because they are in bed with the healthcare industry themselves, the insurance industry themselves, the result is the same. Now, the result is the same, but here's where it does matter. It matters in terms of our approach to them. Actually, no, you're right. It doesn't matter because it doesn't matter. Our approach needs to be the same. We need to hit the ground every single day with the right strategy. And the right strategy is making everyone who supports this legislation, making everyone who doesn't fight hard enough against it, Chuck Schumer, making every single person pay a political price. And if that means we have to be the strategists, that means if we have to be the messengers, then damn it, do it. Fine. It's all the same. You're absolutely right, Jamie. Romney care, yeah. When I call it Obamacare, but it's 100% Romney care. And this is what Elizabeth Warren said the other day. And we have a momentary reprieve Consider if Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader, does not go back and try to push it through overnight, then we have until next week. We have a few days to actually pound the pavement with this message as much as humanly possible. Donald Trump said last night that there's going to be, or was it this morning, that there's going to be a surprise with regard to health care. It's going to be a big surprise. No idea what the hell the surprise is going to be. It could absolutely be nothing. It could be the fact that, the surprise is Donald Trump finally read it. I mean, it's only 150 pages. Sorry. It could be that. In my mind, I'm like wishful thinking. What if it could be he's going to flip and go with single payer? Because I think Donald Trump is just that ideologically ungrounded, if I can make up a phrase. He has no ideological grounding. He just wants anything and everything he can get for himself. But we'll see. We'll see soon enough. All right. Let's talk about a couple of other stories before we get out of here. So, back to this fake news conversation. We had it yesterday, but I feel like we have to have a little bit more of it because it's gaining momentum. And this is, I guess if I had to have a topic for everything that we're talking about, it's the asymmetrical fight. We cannot engage in an asymmetrical political fight because right now the asymmetrical fight with regard to fake news is the fact that Fox News, Breitbart, Donald Trump, all of these media outlets who do nothing but promote lies, they're now in a position where they're free to attack every other media outlet as though every other media outlet is propaganda and fake news, but Fox News. Yeah. So this is, and Donald Trump this is so dangerous. Like yesterday I played the clip of Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and I talked about the war that Donald Trump is waging, but I didn't read some of his tweets. And here's the asymmetrical fight, and I'm laughing because it's so absurd. It's so absurd. These are people, and who Black and Aziz Ansari on Twitter, he said this. These are people who promoted that President Obama was not born in America, that President Obama was a Kenyan for like 3 effing years. This was on Fox News. This is what the president himself said. This is what Breitbart.com said. All of these outlets, InfoWars, all these outlets that are like now considered to be reputable outlets because Donald Trump supports them, all of them spent 3 years and 3 or more years engaging in nothing but the purest, heroin pure fake news. The purest example of fake news. And yet now they're attacking CNN because they got a story wrong. Not just CNN. And don't get me wrong, I've got a list. Like when Don Lemon questioned whether Malaysia Airlines flight 8470, whether or not it got sucked into a black hole, I'm like, can we burn that station down to the ground? So this is not a defense of any particular outlet. This is a defense of the freedom of the press to say, to write stories and they have to get them right, but when they don't get them right, they pay the price. And they did with CNN. They fired 3 people. They didn't get the story right. But they should be able to write stories that are not flattering to the administration without the administration attacking them and calling them fake news. As a matter of fact, I want to start with this clip from John F. Kennedy. I think it's the most appropriate place to start because of just simply what he said. This is a famous clip. Most of you probably already know what I'm getting ready to play, but I think it's worthwhile playing again because it's really shocking and jarring to see how far we've come as a society.
You once said that you were reading more and enjoying it less. Are you still as avid a newspaper reader, magazine I remember those of us who traveled with you on the campaign. A magazine wasn't safe around you.
Oh, it is. No. I think it's invaluable, even though it may cause you it's never pleasant to be reading things frequently that are not agreeable news, but I would say that it's an invaluable arm of the presidency as a check, really, on what's going on in administration. And more things come to my attention that cause me either concern or give me information. So I would think that Mr. Khrushchev, operating a totalitarian system which has many advantages as far as being able to move in secret and all the rest, there's a terrific disadvantage not having the abrasive quality of the press applied to you daily to an administration. When you have, even though we never like it, and even though we don't, even though we wish they didn't write it, and even though we disapprove, there isn't any doubt that we couldn't do the job at all in a free society without a very, very active press.
I mean, my God, how far have we come? We've come from this. We've come from that point, circa 1962, to this point. These are a series of tweets from Donald Trump. He said, fake news is looking at big management changes now that they got caught falsely pushing their phony Russia stories. Ratings will go way down. So they call fake news CNN cold. But what about NBC, CBS, ABC? What about the failing New York Times and Washington Post? They are all fake news. This man is, I hope, I pray, like, for whatever gods there may be, that's from a poem, that he jumps the shark and his following finally takes a step back and says, this man is an idiot. I know that's idealistic, that's wishful thinking, but I mean, like, I don't make me not believe in humanity. Please. There's got to be something redeemable, even about people who believe Donald Trump all the way up to this point, redeemable in the sense that something's got to be able to click in their mind. They might be like, sometimes you just need a moment to click. Like, you know, I had a moment to click in my brain and said, Ben, you got to hit the gym, man. You're about to turn 40 in a couple of years. You can't stay the size you are. And it clicked, right? And I've been doing it ever since. So it's like, you know, last week I was a totally different person. This week I'm a totally different person. I'm hoping that these people who are who believe Donald Trump so much have that light go off in their head where they'll say, shit, you know, this man is an idiot. And, you know, because it happens. Stranger things have happened. I mean, it can happen, right? Or am I just being like, because I really hope that they can see one day that the light will go off and they will realize, damn, Donald Trump thinks everybody is fake news except those who who kiss his ass. Come on. That's not that high of a threshold. That's not asking them to understand the connection that they have to the social contract and why it's important for them to pay their taxes into making a greater society, investing in human capital so that we can get better results for everybody. See, that's some esoteric shit that I don't expect them to realize, and we just got to beat them at the polls. But something simple like, damn, the only person Donald Trump's like are people who literally kiss his ass. Not literally. That's not a high threshold. Or am I still just wishfully thinking? I want to see what you guys say about that. Let me switch back over to the comment section. They said it could happen. Jank from TYT was pretty conservative when he started watching him. Yeah. Let's see. Attacking the press is a first page and authoritarian playbook. Absolutely. And back to what Jamie Miller said earlier in the comment section, she said it doesn't matter whether it's incompetence or maliciousness. And I apply this to Donald Trump as well. It doesn't matter if him doing this is just pure incompetence and not understanding the importance of the role of the presidency in relationship to the fourth estate, or whether it's purely malicious in that he wants to be an authoritarian and he wants to be a dictator and he would love to change him. I don't know which one it is per se, but it doesn't matter because the results are the exact same thing. All right, so I went off on a couple of tangents. So here we are. Here's the asymmetrical fight in this. And I actually, the reason I could point this out is because I live in an asymmetrical fight all the damn time. You know, as I'm going to be honest with you, this is not, you call this identity politics if you want to. It is what it is. Being a black man in America, being a black person in America, I always have to be 3 or 4 times better than the next person. This is why you could come to my show and get a show of this caliber, of this quality, and I'm just barely hanging on as a commentator. Yeah. You know, I always have to be 3 or 4 times. I've seen people with so much less get so much further. And that's just a reality. Like my dad always taught me, he says you got to be twice as good as everybody else. So I'm fully comfortable with an asymmetrical fight. But I'm used to bringing an asymmetrical fight from the opposite side. I'm used to bringing, I'm twice as good as you. I'm twice as smart as you. I work twice as hard as you. I'm going after this twice as hard as you're going after this. I'm always coming from the stacking the odds in my favor side of the asymmetrical fight. You know, but this is why it's so weird for me to see Democrats just missing all these opportunities to freaking destroy Republicans. I mean, utterly eviscerate them. So they engage in this asymmetrical fight from the opposite side where they don't have they don't do half as much. They don't see half as clearly. They let Republicans get away with twice as much. Republicans can say things that Democrats would never dream about saying. The ideological opposite, right? The counterpoint. And Democrats just sit back and just get mollywopped all around the country. And now the same thing is happening to the press, right? You have outlets that are, in terms of the American discourse, they are professional outlets now being beholden to dipshits like James O'Keefe. And what I mean by this is that if you say one thing wrong, the Republican machine is so efficient that they can destroy everything about you if you say one thing wrong. Republicans have been Fox News, Breitbart, InfoWars. They have been wrong on everything. They have been propagandistic on everything for years. And Democrats have yet to hold one of them to account. I like Jose's comment here. He said, with regard to going all the way back to the conversation on health care and Republicans getting tax breaks, he said Democrats are for those raises too. And so they stay quiet. And this is what we need to call. We need to call them out, right? And this is why I said it doesn't matter if it's incompetence or maliciousness. If they're in there, they quietly want those tax breaks too. We need to make every single one of them pay. Every single one of them. We have platforms large enough now. We have people who can start a national conversation now, despite not being mainstream, right? And so we need to have this conversation. This is one of those things that has to trickle up. I'm going to talk to some key friends that I know who can get something out on the national level and point this out. Like, why the hell are they not doing this? And if it's because these Democrats want that tax break themselves, then we need to call them out too. And the way we put them in a corner is by saying, if you don't call this out, then to us, that means you want the tax break, so we're going to have to call you out. So either call out the Republicans doing this and use this as a tool to crush this AHCA and crush this entire GOP healthcare push, or we are going to have to crush you. All right. Let me see. Let me go back to. Okay. So I don't really know if I want to. I don't know if I want to go to this other story, because the other story doesn't really fit the paradigm of today's show. But there's one other story that I've been following is Donald Trump's push for against immigrants, and highlighting all of the families that have been hurt or had someone killed or someone raped or some type of tragedy committed by actually it does fit the paradigm, committed by an illegal immigrant. And the amount of news coverage. I was in the gym this morning and Fox News just blasting this one family who lost their son to a legal immigrant. It was a black man who lost his son and I respect not just respect. I mean, I'm mourn for him, man. I don't even want to imagine his pain. But being a father, I can understand that, something like this would push him into that corner, right? Into the corner saying that my son was killed by an illegal immigrant, so I'm going to be an activist against illegal immigrants. I totally understand that. I mean, I'm not sure, and I'm not even going to go down that train of thought. That's how I'm incapable of identifying with it, because I don't even want to imagine. I'm the type of person, I don't even want to put that shit into the atmosphere. So I feel for him, and I feel his pain as much as it's possible for me to feel his pain, that father's pain. But the reality of it is that now he's become a tool in the arsenal of Donald Trump to hurt legal immigrants, right? To wage a xenophobic war against brown people. Because let's be real, this has never been about illegal immigration. The reason it's not about illegal immigration is because if you wanted to stop illegal immigration, put some business owners in jail for hiring illegal immigrants, and watch how quickly illegal immigration goes down. That's the bottom line. The reason illegal immigration exists, in large part, is because businesses need to get around the minimum wage and to be able to pay people slave labor wages. Capitalism. That's why illegal immigration exists. And so it's not going to go away. And this push to highlight the people, I think, is voice, victims of immigration crimes. And I forgot what the E stands for. Victims of immigration. This is what he's doing. He's pushing this new initiative called Voice, which is going to highlight the victims of illegal immigration, or just immigration in period, according to the title. And it's staggering that we have this conversation in context of immigration, when in reality it's always been about the jobs that these small business owners and sometimes corporations want to give people for less than $5 an hour, $5 a day, or some. This is 100% about businesses, not about people. But it creates this convenient muse where Republicans are always able to attack the other. They're able to look at this other group and say, this group, they are responsible for your problems. This group, they are bringing down your country. They are tearing down, all the things that they say about illegal immigrants for the hopes of ending illegal immigration, knowing full and damn well they have no interest in actually stopping it, because if they wanted to stop it, they have a system to stop it. All they have to do is arrest or financially penalize organizations that hire them. So when that NRA ad that we started the show with talks about, calling them xenophobic, that's all this is xenophobia. There is nothing that's going to come out of this illegal immigration push, the push to end illegal immigration. Nothing. They're not going to end it. They won't end it until they get rid of, I guess maybe they'll end it after they get rid of minimum wage here in the United States, and they can pay people $2 a day here in the United States. Then they won't have a need for illegal immigrants, particularly those from Mexico. But this is the asymmetrical fight. Is this in this conversation is that they are lifting up literally edge cases and making it seem to the entire nation as though this is a prevailing problem, meaning that this happens all the time and every single day and something that they should be afraid of, when in reality it doesn't happen that frequently. I don't know. I think I'm done. As you can see, a lot of shit has been bothering me this morning with these people, and more importantly than the people who are doing this, it's the incompetence of the Democrats to push back against it in an effective way. Let's see. Let's take a couple more comments and then we're going to get out of here. It's about nationalism and brown fear. Absolutely, Emerson. That's exactly what it is. Exploitative cases. That's exactly what it is. Jose Garcia said the restaurant business is notorious for hiring undocumented workers for under minimum wage, and they always lobby against raising minimum wages. Exactly. This is the thing. And I don't understand. I guess maybe because some of the Democrats have own these businesses, right? But if they really wanted to end illegal immigration and put a stop to undocumented workers, start at the top. This is always the issue with Republicans. They always want to make the individual pay when they could easily make the businesses pay and stop the behaviors that they disagree with from the individuals. Easy. But that's not what they're interested in doing. They're interested in exploiting these edge cases for their political gain because it's so easy to make Johnny Sue over in Mississippi and Kentucky be afraid of an undocumented worker if you just put up a picture of this lily white, and not to insult put up a picture of a victim. Put up a picture of a victim that they can identify with and say that this victim is a victim because of an illegal immigrant. And then you've got them because fear is the most powerful weapon in their toolkit. And Republicans have weaponized fear for a long time. They've done it in a masterful way. I mean, as a student of political science, I actually sit back in awe and look at how sharp Republicans really are politically. I mean, strategically, they are second to none. And that's why it bothers me all the more to see Democrats sitting by and seeing this happen without pushing back in an effective way. And again, if they are, and I know I disagree with the controlled opposition argument. I disagree with it because you have to be in power to be opposition. And the Democrats are a dying breed. They're going the way of the dinosaur. They're getting ready to be extinct on the state level. I mean, they don't have control over anything on the state house. I think 3/4 of all the state houses, state senates, state governor seats are held by Republicans. They've lost 1,000 seats nationwide over the last 8 years. That's not controlled opposition. That's I don't know what the hell I'm doing. All right, everybody, I want you to have a great rest of your day. I'm getting ready to get out of here and do something with my life. You do the same, and we will see you tomorrow morning, same time, same channel.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog, join the Progressive Army, and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
Crazy mother.
If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Consider becoming a Patreon. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.